How are you, folks? Dave Brown back here with the New Populist. Thank you again for joining me. Now, it's been less than 2 weeks since the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And considering how big a moment that was, it's kind of incredible how quickly it's all just fading away. It's essentially out of the news, and everybody's talking about Queen Kamala and how great she is and how she's going to take the mantle from Joe Biden and continue taking America forward. Of course, we know that's not going to happen. That's a disaster, but that is what the media is telling right now, and they're doing a pretty decent job of it. One thing the media is great at is gaslighting and BSing, and right now they're trying so hard to push Kamala Harris. But I want to go back to this whole Trump assassination, because I think at this point people are just moving past it and not really analyzing what exactly happened. So I want to take a little trip into conspiracy land and maybe propose what may have happened with that assassination, because again, it's very suspicious, the entire thing, and the media just wants to move on. Now, what is the one thing that the establishment hates Donald Trump for besides his personality? In my opinion, it's all about foreign policy. What was 2016 about with Trump? Oh, he is a Putin agent. Russia hacked our election. And even today, 8 years later, there are still Democrats everywhere who think that Trump is a Putin puppet. And that is why the foreign policy establishment hates Trump, because, well, not because he's a Putin puppet, but because he has some flexibility on foreign policy. He wanted to work with people. He met with Kim Jong-un. He worked with Putin, or at least tried to cool things off with Putin. Same thing with Xi. And the foreign policy establishment does not like this because their plans transcend presidential administrations. Their plans are things they've been working on for decades. For example, this war in Ukraine, it didn't start in 2022. The foundations for it go back to the early 2000s. It goes back to George Bush talking about NATO in 2008. It goes back to 2014 with the coup that our government helped with. So all of those things previously laid down the groundwork for the war in Ukraine. So when Trump comes in 2016 and starts wanting to talk to Putin, it made them very nervous. And of course, they sabotaged him and actually held him back. He could have done more, but he was very careful because he was always being accused of being a Russian agent. And what did they impeach him for in 2018? Because he withheld momentarily aid to Ukraine, offensive weapons. He withheld that, and then they snitched on him, and then they impeached him for it. So foreign policy really is what makes the establishment nervous when it comes to a president who is not under their control. That's what they worry about, because he can sabotage their plans that they've laid out decades in advance. And another country that the foreign policy establishment wants to go after is Iran. Now, remember when Iran shot down our drone? They wanted Trump to bomb Iran, and we actually had the planes in the air going to bomb Iran. And as Trump recalls, he turns to his general and says, okay, if we bomb Iran here, how many people are we going to kill? And the general said, about 120. And then Trump says, call it off. He actually really had a moment of humanity where he says to himself, or says, I'm going to kill 120 people because they shot down a drone. And Trump couldn't do it. So he calls it off, and his national security advisor, John Bolton, freaks out, loses his mind. And ever since then, he has been on a rampage against Trump, just the biggest ingrate, the biggest clown. And it really was a big mistake for Trump to have John Bolton in his administration. But again, Trump wouldn't bomb Iran, and that's what the neocons wanted. So let's fast forward to this assassination. We have this guy Crooks, all this information about him doesn't really make sense. We hear a lot of stuff coming out. But interestingly, we have the story from CNN. Secret Service ramped up security after intel of Iran plot to assassinate Trump. No known connection to shooting. So before the assassination attempt, there was the Secret Service allegedly ramped up protection or security, when in fact, based on what we're seeing, the exact opposite was happening. His security was worse, not better, despite the fact that there was allegedly this Iranian plot to assassinate Trump. Now, added into that, we have this report, Daily Mail. Republican congressman claims Trump shooter Thomas Crooks had 3 encrypted accounts overseas and hints at Iranian plot as FBI continues to investigate. So they were saying he had these phones and that these accounts, these phones, they were encrypted and that there was a possible connection to Iran. Interesting. And then we have this here. I'll come back to that. We have the RNC convention a few days later after this assassination attempt. And then we have Benjamin Netanyahu coming to the United States to give his speech, which he just did. Now, who was second behind Trump as far as delegates? No other than Nikki Haley, who is a massive, massive neocon. So I want to play a very short clip of Nikki Haley at the convention, and here's what she says.
Then look at the Middle East. Every problem in that part of the world can be laid at the feet of Iran. The dictators who chant death to America are the bankrollers and weapons suppliers for Hamas and Hezbollah. They're behind the barbaric massacres and the hostage-taking. Once again, compare Trump and Biden. Trump got us out of the insane Iran nuclear deal.
So it's funny here, she's actually comparing Trump to Biden, saying Trump's better, and of course he is. But do you believe her, or is she doing what she needs to do right now to get in good favor with Donald Trump? I don't trust her. I doubt she likes Trump, and during the primary, they were really going at it, and I hated to see Nikki Haley at this convention. Now, Netanyahu, he shows up, goes in front of Congress, he gives a speech as well, and notice the very first thing he talks about is Iran. Check this out.
Senators, members of Congress, distinguished guests. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me the profound honor of addressing this great citadel of democracy for the 4th time. We meet today at a crossroads of history. Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization.
So there's Netanyahu's first statement. Iran, barbarism, and the United States and Israel have to stand together to fight Iran. Now, interestingly, later on in the speech, he talks about Iran wanting to assassinate Donald Trump.
That's why Iran sees America as its greatest enemy. Last month, we heard a revealing comment, ostensibly about the war in Gaza, but about something else. It came from the foreign minister of Iran's proxy, Hezbollah, and he said this: "This is not a war with Israel. Israel," he said, "is merely a tool. The main war, the real war, is with America. Iran's regime has been fighting America from the moment it came to power. In 1979, it stormed the American embassy. It held scores of Americans hostage for 444 days. Since then, Iran's terrorist proxies have targeted America in the Middle East and beyond. In Beirut, they killed 241 U.S. servicemen. In Africa, they bombed American embassies. In Iraq, they supplied explosives to maim and kill thousands of American soldiers. In America, they actually sent death squads. They sent death squads here to murder a former Secretary of State and a former National Security Advisor. And as we recently learned, they even brazenly threatened to assassinate President Trump.
So he says again here, they're trying to assassinate President Trump, and President Trump responded to that in a Truth Social's post where he says, if they do assassinate President Trump, which is always a possibility, I hope that America obliterates Iran, wipes it off the face of the earth. If that does not happen, American leaders will be considered gutless cowards. Now, in that Netanyahu speech, he mentions Iran 23 times. His entire speech was basically about Iran, basically about the United States and Iran and Israel having to stand together to fight Iran. And he's trying to convince people that Iran is not going after just Israel. Iran is going after America, which is why we have to stand with Israel to go after Iran. So Iran, all about Iran. So go back to the assassination attempt. What happens if it had been successful? My guess is they would have pinned it on Iran. They had the groundwork there. Nikki Haley comes into the convention. She gets the nomination, and they're off to the races going after Iran. That is my guess. But unfortunately, fortunately, the assassin missed and didn't kill Trump, and they had to go to their secondary script. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened, but it's very suspicious. They first started to blame Iran. This guy has encrypted phones with communications overseas. We knew about this plot from Iran to assassinate Trump. We were supposed to bump up security, but oh man, we made all these mistakes, and everybody was a moron. No one knows what's going on. And man, how was the security so bad? Oh wow, we're just bumbling idiots, and our bad here. And of course, finally, the head of the Secret Service resigned because somebody had to resign. It would have been ridiculous. So she resigns. So it seemed like it was all set up for that, to blame Iran. And this wouldn't be the first time we've lied and blamed somebody else in order to go to war. We went to Iraq and invaded Iraq, and we were spreading these lies that somehow Saddam was possibly or was involved in 9/11. So I don't trust our security services. And now that there's allegedly this possible foreign connection, I guarantee you the FBI in this investigation is going to drag things out and then hide a lot of information under classification. So if you want to figure out what was going on with this guy, they're either going to say it's classified, we can't really get into it, and they're going to bury it, or they're simply going to just go, oh, well, yeah, well, he was just this whack job. All that stuff about Iran, and forget about that. He was just crazy. Go to sleep. Don't worry about it. Let's move on. Trump's fine, blah, blah, blah. That's what they might do as well. So very suspicious, this whole shooting, and the fact that they really, really want to move past it. Had it been anybody else, had it been authentic, I guarantee you we'll be getting much better information much quicker. Not all this stonewalling and just what seems like a cover-up, or at least they're just being very, very slow and deliberate in releasing bits of information that don't really give us enough to draw a full picture. And Christopher Wray, head of the FBI, absolute scumbag, another bad Trump pick, unfortunately, and his job is to mop things up and to make sure that they're not implicated and that whatever story we get is, complete BS. And that's what he's preparing to spin to us. And in a few weeks or a few months, when it's all said and done, we're going to get a big pile of crap to eat. And whatever they say, if you believe it, sorry, but, you're a moron. Well, that's it for now. If you're new to my channel, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.